So here we are in the heart of Leicester Square, and just behind me is the statue of William Shakespeare. Now, the statue is an approximation of his appearance. We don't really know what William Shakespeare looked like. There were no paintings or sketches done of him during his lifetime. So he might have looked completely different, we're not sure. Okay? William Shakespeare is the most popular author of all time. Okay? Only one other book has sold more than the complete works of Shakespeare, and that's the Bible. Okay, so Shakespeare's a really important figure. He's not only the most popular author, he's the most successful playwright in this country. You can't throw a stone in London without stumbling across a Shakespearean production somewhere. Now, during the 16th century, London was a very different city, and Shakespeare's theatres were also very different. You could go to Shakespeare's Globe during the Elizabethan and Jacobean period, and you could mingle with all sorts of people selling things of various types, oranges, apples, drinks, you name it. And so the audiences could be quite rowdy. Often they'd be quite drunk. In fact, when the first Shakespeare Globe burnt down in 1613, the whole thing burnt down in 2 hours, and the only reported incident when the Globe burnt down was a gentleman had his breeches, his trousers catch on fire, and he was the benefit of some provident wit who put it out with a bottle of beer. Now, of course, this is why theatres encourage you to drink during the interval, just in case your drink is needed. Your gin and tonic, for example, is needed for a bit of firefighting. So during Shakespeare's time, Shakespeare was writing for a contemporary audience, and he wanted them to enjoy themselves. So in Henry IV Part 1, Henry IV Part 2 and Henry V, we have an amazing character called Sir John Falstaff. And he's this very large knight who hangs around with the Prince of Wales, Prince Hal, in Henry IV Part 1 and 2, and then he sort of gets booted off as Hal becomes King Henry V. And what Falstaff is doing most of the time throughout those three plays is he's asking for a drink, he's asking for some sack. Now, sack is a type of sherry, and during Shakespeare's time, people would drink much more than we do today. The reason they drink much more than they do today is because it was one of the safest ways of consuming liquid. Water here in London wasn't safe, and so by drinking beer through the brewing process of heating the liquid, alcohol adding an extra level of safety during the fermentation process, it was very safe to drink. So everyone during Shakespeare's time would drink some form of booze. That was women and children. Now, alcohol wasn't just a way of drinking safely, and I don't mean drinking safely as in drinking alcohol, but just drinking liquid safely. It was also a status symbol. So if you could afford things like wines or, like Sir John Falstaff, sack, it was a status symbol because they had to be imported from the continent. There were no vineyards in this country to make wine.